Hey everyone, I welcome you to today's lesson in maths. And today we are going to talk about probability. So you get to see what probability is and get to understand what probability does or how it's being used. So why do we study probability? Why do we study probability? So probability is a measure of how likely it is that something or an event will occur. Like how likely. So when I ask you, hey, how likely is it that it's going to rain today? And you go like, very, very unlikely because 7 days ago it didn't rain. 0/7. So it's very unlikely that it's going to rain. Yes. So probability is used to describe uncertain events. Okay. To tell us whether the event is actually certain or not certain, or you are sure about the event or not sure about it. So we use probability to describe uncertain events in everyday situation. For example, when you accidentally drop a slice of bread. Oh, you don't know if it's going to fall with the battered side facing upwards or downwards. Oh no, I just dropped my bread and it fell with the battered side. When your favorite sports team play a game, you don't know whether they will win or not. Well, Manchester just lost. I didn't know they were going to lose. When the weatherman says there is 40% chance of rain tomorrow, you may or may not end up getting wet. Oh, 40% chance. That's quite low. It's not going to rain tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and it rains. Uncertainty presents itself to some degree in every event that occurs around us and in every decision we make. We will see in this chapter that all of these uncertainties can be described using the rules of probability theory, and we can make definite conclusions about uncertain processes. So let's look at some terminologies. Yay! Any happening for which the result is uncertain is called an experiment. So an experiment is whatever you do, okay, or the event. So an act of conducting an event or a test, okay. So a happening, any happening which the result is uncertain is called an experiment. Because when you conduct an experiment, you don't know whether you are going to fail the experiment or you are going to succeed in getting the right results. You have no idea. It's an experiment. Nobody does an experiment knowing what to do. I mean, on the other side. So the possible results of an experiment are outcomes. So what comes out of the experiment, the result of the experiment is what we call outcomes, okay? And the set of all some possible outcomes in the experiment is called the sample space. I'll give you examples, don't worry. So for example, if you toss a coin, tossing the coin is the experiment, okay? And then the outcome is that it could either be a head or a tail. So the sample space is the all the results. So head or tail. That's the sample space. Head and tail. Okay. And so at the end of the day, your outcome could be a head or a tail. So the sample space is denoted with the symbol S. It's denoted with the symbol S, like sample space S. And the size of the sample space, the total number of possible outcomes, is denoted with NS. Okay, NS. So you put the N and then you put in brackets S. So that's the number of sample space or the size of sample space. An event in a specific set of outcome of an experiment that you are interested in. So an event is a specific set of outcomes that you are interested in. An event is denoted with the letter E, and the number of outcomes in the event is N with E. So events starting with E, so it's denoted with the letter E. Alright. So if you want to find the number of events, you write it this way. Sorry, you write it this way. N E. Okay. So let's look at some of the terminology. So find the sample space for each of the following: when one coin is tossed, when one coin is tossed, when two coins are tossed, and when three coins are tossed. Let's look at the sample space in them. So because a coin will either end up heads up or tails up, where head will be H, capital H, and tail will be capital T, then the sample space is this way. S is equal to head or tail. You can write it anyway, but make sure that H and T appears. Because either coin lands head up or tails up, the sample spaces, when you toss it twice, so when you toss the coin twice, first toss, and then you get what? A head. When you toss it second, you are going to get what? A head, right? When you toss it two times again, you can also get a head and get what? A tail. When you toss it the third time, you can get a tail. You can get a tail. Toss it another time, you can get a tail. You can get what? A head. So these are all the sample space you can get when you toss a coin two times. Head, 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 tail, tail, head, tail, tail. So the sample space being S will include all of them. Head, 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 tail, tail, head, and tail, tail. Alright. When you toss it three times, what are you getting? You can get head, head, head. You can get head, head, tail. You can get head, tail, head. You can get head, tail, tail. You can get head, tail, head, tail, 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 head, and head, tail, tail, tail. Okay, let's do it again. Head, 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 tail, head, tail, head, head, tail, 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 head, tail, 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 head, and tail, tail, tail. Okay, so those are all the sample spaces you can get from them. And so you need to know that when you toss it three times, your sample space is actually going to be one, sorry, one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay. Alright, let's continue. So when we say the probability of an event, it's written this way. So the event being here, probability means P, so P into bracket E is equal to the number of events over the number of sample space. I'll explain that. So where PE is the probability of events, NE is the total number of outcomes of events, and NS is the total number of outcomes in the sample space. Alright, let's look at probability of an event. So probability of an event always range from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Okay, probability cannot be more than 1. It cannot be less than 0. It always has to be between 0 and 1. Note that probability always has to be between 0 and 1. Alright, so find the probability of an event when two coins are tossed. What's the probability that both land heads up? A card is drawn from a standard deck of cards. What's the probability that it's an ace? Now let me explain. So the first question says that two coins are tossed. Okay, two coins are tossed. You toss one coin, and then it lands head. You toss another coin, and then it lands up tail. Okay, now what's the probability that both land heads up? So the question is telling us that what's the probability that you're going to find when you toss the two coin, you're going to find all being head, head. Okay, so that's the question. What's the probability that you're going to get head, lands to head up? So what you do is you write it this way: probability of head. Okay, that's it. Probability of head. Or you can write that probability of both land heads up. You can write it in this space. Okay, but I'll prefer probability of head. Okay, so it's equal to number of head, okay, over total number of sample space. All right, so that's the meaning, that's the probability. So now let's write out all the possible outcomes after throwing 2 coins up. So there's a possibility that we get head. Yes. So first let's write it this way: number of samples. Let's write it this way: sample space is equal to head. Okay, that's one. Head, tail, that's two. Tail, head, that's three. And tail, that's four. Alright, so if you have these, what's the probability that you are going to get this? So and then what you do is that this is one, okay, one out of four, okay, because the number of sample space is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 4. And what's the number of events? This is the event we are looking for. Head is 1. So our final answer is going to be probability of head is equal to number of events over number of sample space, which is equal to 1 over 4. Correct for 30 marks. Yeah. So that's how it's done. Okay, so let's look at it here. That's what we have. So the event is head. The sample space is head, tail, head, tail. Then the probability of the event is 1 over 4. Alright, so let's look at the second question. It says that a card is drawn from the standard deck of cards. What is the probability that it's an ace? Now, because when you have cards, playing cards, like what we call spa, okay, there are 52 cards in them. 52 in a standard deck, and there are 4 aces. Okay, 4 aces. So the probability of getting an ace is 4 over 52. Okay, that's the probability of getting an ace, 4 over 52. So when you break it down, you're going to have 1 over 13. Alright, so that's basically it. Alright, let's look at the last example. Two-sided dice are tossed. What's the probability that the total of the 2 dice is 7? So finding the probability of an event. So the solutions: first die. So you know a die has how many faces, right? It has 6 faces. So two-sided dice are tossed. So a total of 7 can be rolled in 6 ways. That is, which means the probability of rolling a 7 is to roll what? Is to roll to get what? The first die to play 1 and the second die to play 6. or to get the first die to play 2 and the second die to play 5. To get the first die to play 3 and the second die to play 4. To get the first die to play 4 and the second die to play 3. To get the first die to play 5 and the second die to play 2. To get the first die to play 6 and the second die to play 1. So you look at this, when you add all this, you actually get 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Alright, so these are the ways with which you are going to play 7 when you roll 2 dice. When the first one gives you a first face of 1 and the second one gives you a face of 6, you get 7. So how many ways are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so 6 ways out of how many? 36 different possibilities. So in rolling a die, 2 dice, you're going to get 36 possibilities. Okay, so we have 6 over 36, and what do we have? When you break it down, you have 1 over 6, and that's the probability here. Alright, so always remember that the probability of an event is the number of events, okay, over the number of sample space. Alright, so I'll give you some exercises, and make sure you watch this video to guide you to be able to answer them. Alright, so until we meet again, enjoy your day. Have a nice day. Bye bye.